Hey everyone, so welcome to our next session on International Human Resource Management. So today let us discuss about how human resource aspects are being influenced or impacted by these actions of mergers and acquisition. Nowadays, companies need to be very fast growing, then efficient, then profitable, flexible, adaptable, and future ready. So they want a dominant market position. So it's very virtual, impossible to compete today's global economy. So there is always a huge competition as they work with similar firms that they have developed or are developing new products and sometimes similar products, or they're coming with much more better futures similar to them. So some firms focus on their own internal growth, leadership and development, then growing or expanding through deals that result in mergers and acquisition and expanding themselves. They always feel this is the better opportunity for them to grow in the market or sustain in the market. First, let us understand what is this merger and what is an acquisition. So let us just put a small light on merger and acquisition definition. So when a merger acquisitions are tools businesses use to achieve organizational objectives. So they can be considered even as the tool that have profound impact on the employees of the organizations at every levels as two organizations attempt to integrate into one. A merger is generally defined as the joining of two or more different organizations under one common owner or management structure, whereas an acquisition is the process of one corporate entity acquiring control of another corporate entity by purchase, stock swap, or some other method. So this picture gives you a clear understanding what acquisition is. See, this is a very big company and this is a smaller company. So acquisition means a bigger company is trying to acquire a smaller company to become much more bigger and stronger in the competitive market. So I'll just come with that again. And whereas merger is both equal companies, they are trying to merge together in order to become a much more stronger company. So there might be numerous reasons for the companies to merge or acquire. It can be, say for example, to become market dominance or economies of scale. Then they can have a channel control. Then this can even help in risk spreading, cost cutting, synergies and defensive drivers and so on. So like that there are many aspects. So yes, we'll move upon to the next slide. So here we'll see the objective of merger and acquisition both individually. So the main objective of the merger is to achieve economy of scale, which I just now put a light on it, and to carry on business more economically and efficiently. So whereas the objective of an acquisition is self-evidently growth and expansion of the acquirer's assets, sales and market shares. So here there are different types of mergers and acquisitions. So let us see what is mergers. So mergers there are two types of mergers. So merger of equals and merger of unequals. So when I'm speaking with merger of equals, like the merger between Ciba and Sandoz farming Novartis. Then like that there are many such companies wherein equal mergers have happened, like for example Nations Bank and Bank of America, then McKinsey and Envision, then Chase and JP Morgan, like that to mention few. and even you can think of this one, Nestle and Purina and Dosh Telecom and VoiceStream and like that many more. So then when you are looking after mergers of unequal are like Chase and yes JP Morgan, which I just mentioned, and it can also be like just UBS and Payne Weber, then Credit Suisse and DIJ, then Skebby and Glaxo and many more, where staffing implications are being shared very unequally. Yes. Then moving upon to the next slide, which speaks about acquisition. So here also there are two major types, wherein acquisition and integration, like Cisco, they have a greater staffing implications, and whereas acquisition and separation like Unilever and Best Foods, not greater staffing implications as acquisition and integration. So the term itself says acquisition and integration, where this says acquisition and separation. So here they acquire and they get separated. Here you are acquiring and you are trying to integrate them, like SBI and State Bank of Mysore, then and Kotak Mahindra and ING Vaishya banks, and like that there are many more acquisitions that have happened. So moving upon to the next one, why? So some of the main reasons for mergers and acquisitions can be like, for example, horizontal mergers for market dominance and economies of scale, then vertical mergers for channel control, then hybrid mergers for risk spreading, cost cutting, synergies and defensive drivers, then growth for world-class leadership and global reach, then for their survival it can be critical mass, then sales maximization as well. Then some of the very important acquisitions can be for cash, taxes and excess debt capacity. Then to move upon further, I'll just type some more reasons in the same thing. Then acquisitions can also be done for gaining a core competence to do more combinations. Then acquisitions for financial gain and personal power, which already had mentioned. Then acquisitions can be even for bigger asset base of leverage borrowing, then to increase flexibility leverage, then to move quickly and inexpensively, then financial gain, and yes again okay. Then moving upon to some additional this one are like for gaining a core competence to do more combinations, then acquiring talent, knowledge and technology. Yes, this is one of the very important. Then better talent, knowledge and technology is being acquired. Then okay, in addition, companies that are very successful and inventive in mergers and acquisitions not only create value but also develop a core competence in combination management itself. So this in turn can give the company an edge over other who haven't been successful and or have not learned from their past efforts. So such combinations in turn can lead a job growth over time. In the short run, however, jobs can be lost and the impact of employees and society can be significant significantly proposed. So however, some of the failed mergers and acquisitions are likely to result in even more negative social consequences. So, with the importance of and need for mergers and acquisition growing and the base of experience expanding, it may seem reasonable to also assume that success is more likely to occur than failure in these types of company combinations. Sorry. In fact, or indeed, worse than this, mergers and acquisitions are more likely to fail than succeed. However, the statistics, show that more than a staggering 75% fail. 75% fail, and only 15% of the mergers and acquisitions achieve their financial objectives, and as measured by share value, then return on investment and post combination profitability. So in for example, this European arena, and all, in 1995 they had conducted one large study on large combinations of these mergers and acquisitions. So there it showed half destroyed shareholders value, whereas 30% had minimal impact, and only 70% only 70% of the companies created shareholders return. So majority of them had failed. Just imagine, only 70%, and that means the rest were couldn't succeed. So like that, so there are so many reasons for failure, wherein some of the major reasons identified by the researchers are as follows. So it can be like expectations are unrealistic and hastily constructed strategies. Yes, this can be taken as the second point. Then very poor planning and unskilled execution. Yes, it's not been added. You can just add on some more points for this. Then power and politics are the driving forces rather than productive objectives. Then requires an impossible degree of synergy. Culture clashes between the two entities go unchecked. So especially in international human resource management, cultural clashes, because you are dealing with different nations, two different nations, even different states also. It's again a big challenge for an HR to manage these cultural effects. Yes, this is one of the very important aspects of IHRM during mergers and acquisitions, so which we'll be dealing in our further sessions. In transition management failed, then underestimation of transition cost and financial drain, defensive motivation. There can be some more, like for example, talent is lost or mismanaged. We might use many talented employees, so there might be failure or inability to unify behind a single macro message. Perhaps of all these, cultural clashes, gaps, or incompatibility and losses of key talent are being cited for some of the most frequently, and although even there are become intertwined with the other reasons, these reasons have been the most key and very commonly foregoing reasons. So again, people problems are a major cause of failed mergers and acquisitions, and you must ensure that most, if not all, the people you want are still in place at even the end of the integration period. So when you're studying the reasons for failure, it's very important that you should know some of the reasons for success as well, so that when you want to go for a merger and acquisition, you just follow some of these strategies undoubtedly, and some of them are good leadership, wherein you are retaining the key talented people, then well throughout goals and objectives, then due diligence on hard and soft issues, well managed merger and acquisition team, successful learning from previous experiences. Yes, always our previous experiences play a major role in building these rules and policies, and integrating better with both the parties or the companies. Planning for combination and solidification steps completed early, so everything should be planned accordingly. Then extensive and timely communications to all stakeholders. We should never forget the stakeholders. So these reasons are corroborated by some of the findings of all the research articles and the surveys that they have done. Some of these reasons have given us key lessons for our next mergers and acquisition projects, wherein they suggest the need to develop a more realistic time scale, including allowance for the time required to prepare for effective due diligence. Then start the planning of integration processes sooner and get HR involved very much earlier. Very important for the HR, because so many people are involved here. Then work to align expectations in acquiring the business. Then confront difficulties, confront difficult decisions, including employee and human resource issues earlier in the process. Coming to the human side of mergers and acquisition, yes, this is one of the very critical aspects of mergers and acquisition, because plenty of attention is paid to the legal, financial and operational elements of mergers and acquisition, but executives who have been through the merger process now recognize that in today's economy, the management of human side of chain is the real key to maximizing the value of a deal. Many mergers do not create a shareholder value expected of them. The combination of cultural differences and an ill-concise human resource integration strategy is one of the most common reasons for the failures. Given the well-publicized war for talent, I, being a HR, constantly am surprised by how very little attention is paid to the matter of human capital during especially these mergers and acquisitions. So we always keep speaking about human assets, human capital, and how important they are, how crucial they are. So if people issues are so critical, then why are they neglected? Why aren't they given much more importance even in earlier process? So some of the possible reasons, why they have been neglected in the starting phases can be the belief that they are very too soft and therefore hard to manage. Then lack of awareness and consensus that people issues are very critical. Then lack of awareness or then no spokesperson to articulate these issues. Then no model or framework that can systematically understand. Then attentive focus in mergers and acquisition activity is on finance, accounting, manufacturing, or as I said, production and so on. So people issue occur at several phases or stages, so they take it very easy and common. Retention of key talent and communication is very critical aspects which have to be taken care, in very much earlier stages. So let us know the process or the phases of mergers and acquisition as well. So mergers and acquisition tend to go through very much similar phases, and a brief summary of these distinct parts just I'll put a light on them. So going to please make a note of this. Let me start with the first phase. Going to the first phase, this speaks about pre-acquisition review. So this is the first step is to assess their own situation and determine if the merger and acquisition strategy should be implemented. If a company expects difficulty in the future when it comes to maintaining core competencies, market share, or return on capital, or other key performance drivers, then the merger and acquisition program might be very much necessary. So going on to the next phase, that is phase 2, which speaks about search and screening target. So here we'll have to identify our potential buyers. So here the second phase within the merger and acquisition is for searching for possible takeover candidates. And target companies must fulfill a set of criteria through which compatibility and strategic fit should be assessed. So in many of the other books, you also find this as being identifying buyers, so that is potential buyers. So an organization management must be very careful in deciding, even with the goal of bringing significant advantages to both the parties. So it is important to sign a non-disclosure agreement before sharing much information between the two companies. They are mostly called as NDAs. So in this phase, an HR professional may be involved in the process of communicating the need for an NDA, then collecting signatures and maintaining the records, as per our requirements. So moving upon to the third stage, this speaks about investigating and we need to value the target. So here we are trying to do a detailed analysis of the target company, and this detailed review is called as due diligence. So it requires a more thorough review of operations, strategies, financials, and other aspects of the target company. So here we are trying to involve legal, accounting, regulatory and technical aspects of completing the transaction. So this is during this phase that the third party professional services are secure. So that is, for example, you take the suggestions from lawyers, accountants, investment bankers, and mergers and acquisition advisors too. So these individuals or the groups are critical to the success of the transaction and will be involved in the development of the structure and content of the legal agreement. So an HR professional might be involved in interviewing the third party professionals and negotiating an independent contractor agreement. So moving upon to the next stage, which is acquiring through negotiation. So here it is a win-win situation. So regarding these negotiations themselves, many tactics are employed, and the right ones often depend on the type of organizations involved. So different industry sectors use different valuation metrics, like for example multiples of revenue, then discounted cash flow or EBITDA, then which is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation and amortization. Then the financial advisors, then both internal and external advisors, they mostly generally control on the aspects of the transactions. Then assuming the due diligence process has not uncovered any material issues that cause a reconsideration of the transaction, and assuming the price seems right, both parties draft, negotiate and approve the legal agreement. So moving upon to the next stage, post-merger integration. However, here the deal is finalized and we are trying to implement the agreed policies or whatever they are. In this phase, two organizations are combined into one. Now work groups are established and redundant employees are laid off. Then the corporate culture for the combined organization is established and communicated to all the employees. So, however, HR professionals may be involved in formulating a new mission statement, then vision statement, and possibly a value statement too. Then organizational policies and procedures will be again revised and coordinated with significant input from all HR professionals. So all these aspects, will be categorized into three levels, which are full, then moderate, and minimal, wherein these HR integration, HR and these mergers and acquisition integration process takes place. Then moving upon to the next aspect, the HR issues. Here, this substantial number of human resources are related, then creation of dedicated senior executives, then mergers and acquisition failure is the lack of capable leaders, so hence we need to concentrate with this. The selection discussion of which one to choose, again it depends upon the top management. Then a well true plan for managing the rest of the mergers and acquisition is very much needed. Then diminish the possible success of the combination, then planning to learn the mergers and acquisition process, and all these are some of the can be termed as HR issues. Other than these issues, we can also bring of how you are trying to motivate the employees, how you are trying to retain the key employees, then managing the change process. Yes, this is one of the very important aspects of managing change process. Then communicating to the invoicing stakeholders, then deciding the HR policies and practices after the merger or the acquisition, then creating a new structure, strategies and leadership, designing or implementing the teams, because since now you have two combination of employees. So however, regardless of a specific area of breakdown or weaknesses, so when a poor integration occurs, the productivity or the production drop down. So when the productivity drops down, leadership attrition soars within a very short period of time. When this happens, employee satisfaction drop downs. When employee satisfaction have dropped down, then high-tech mergers fail to deliver expected increase in profits. So however, this again leads to the employees will be feeling that the management cares only about financial and not about people, and again their engagement drops down, and this leads to the failure of any organization, that is any mergers and acquisition. Perhaps, however, the most critical HR issue for the success of this integration stage is selection of the integration manager. So combinations that were guided by the integration manager. So it's very important to have a retained high percentage of acquired companies leaders, then should retain a higher percentage of total employees, then achieve business goals which are earlier. Then so it is also very important to have an integration manager to focus exclusively on a particular acquisition and merger. So this person is not one of the people running the business. So this person probably helps to provide continuity between the deal team and the management of the new company. So such people understand the company, feel ownership, and are passionate about making it work. So it's very important to have a successful leaders. So what do you exactly mean by these successful leaders? And these are some of the description of successful leader. So he is very sensitive to cultural differences. Then he should be open-minded and flexible. Then he should be able to recognize the relative strengths and weaknesses of both the companies. Then he should be committed and to retaining key employees. Then he should be a very good listener, and he should have a visionary, and also he should be able to filter our distractions and focus on integrating key business drivers such as research and development and customer interface and so on. So to the extent that the acquired firm is closely integrated with the acquirer, it is critical that the leader of the acquiring company has a solid knowledge about the acquired company. So moving upon to the next aspect, it is the role of HR department in mergers and acquisition activity. So the first one is developing key strategies for the company's mergers and acquisition activities. So here providing arguments for and against merger and acquisition activities, and outlining the social costs for successful and unsuccessful combination. Around 85% of HR executives say that they should be involved in these activities. Then moving upon to the next one, it is managing the soft due diligence activities. So here some of the activities are like gaining knowledge of the makeup and motivation of the two workforces, then understanding the potential impact of the company's multiple stakeholders, including the employees and communities and the unions as well. Then it is accessing management team of the other company, then conducting analysis of its organizational structure, then comparing benefits, compensation policies and labor contracts of both the firms. Then again moving upon to the next one, it is about creating transition teams, then especially those that will that are overseeing the communication. So here you are trying to develop infrastructure for new organization, then the process and design system, then address the cultural issues, then provide training in order to adopt with the overseas, then managing the activities associated with staffing. In particular, again developing and overseeing section processes, retention strategies, then separation strategies and so on. So when you are speaking about then overseeing the communications, is like you have to develop a communication plan aimed at realizing a vision of a new organization through something like assessing the issue, then re-audience, then timing, then method and message, then information delivery, information gathering, then helping employees and communities cope with the change. Yes, because you are moving to overseas or you are staying, however you are merging with a different culture altogether. Then managing the learning processes. So this is nothing but building learning into a partnership agreement, then staffing, then setting up learning driven career plans, then using training to stimulate the learning process, something like specifying the responsibilities for learning, then rewarding learning activities. This is one of the very important aspects of company's culture, or the importance of cultural fit during the merger and acquisition process. So one of the very important aspects even from the exam point of view. However, human resources must have a firm grasp on the culture of the company for which they work, and must study the culture of the other organization to make sure such a determination. So however, culture capabilities issues often arise when bringing together two or more cultures in the mergers and acquisition process, because culture encompasses the beliefs and assumptions shared by members of an organization and influence all areas of group life. So the merger and acquisition integration always have a degree of misalignment regardless of the perceived similarity between the two firms. Since cultural clashes can affect important mergers and acquisition outcomes, focusing on cultural alignment has been identified as the top challenge in merger and acquisition transaction. So some of the cultural differences can be like how organizations define and measure success, how problems are handled based on cultural differences, then the management style, then overall attitude of employees and managers in the acquired company or in the acquiring company or both the mergers companies. Yes, global mobility or international postings is one of the very important aspects. Then, however, much of the pressure to compete and perform has intensified from globalization and the emergence of China and India as two of the fastest growing economies in the world. So during 1990s and through about 2005, mergers and acquisition activities was controlled largely by United States and European based corporations. The climate has changed and Asian based businesses look to expand their markets and become truly global players. However, the things are maybe due to this COVID-19, the things are again going to be changed much faster, because now still the discussion of merger of Jio and Facebook is yet to be discussed. So like this, due to this COVID-19 and lockdown period and issues in the global world, many mergers and acquisition might happen in this year of 2020. We are expected more, wherein we starting with Jio and Facebook as well. So this moving upon, the climate has changed and Asian based businesses look to expand their markets and become truly global players. So however, the Middle East, even with its volatile political and religious climate, also is being a hotbed for mergers and acquisition activities. So countries such as United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia have plenty of cash available from their vast oil wealth and are looking to diversify their businesses holdings. So it's very important to focus about employee concerns. So however, human resource can detect the address and the rumors about the layoffs, then office relocations, then or other challenges that the employees might fear. So giving feedback to management about employees' concerns due to these mergers and acquisition, all these rumors are very common, and so much importance has to be given for the cultural diversification, and it is a major role for the HR to concentrate on cultural impact on the employees. So thank you guys, have a nice day. Please wait for the next session wherein I'll be covering about the repatriation, then the selection methodology of repatriation and expatriation, the process of repatriation, and so on. Okay, thank you.